So we're not Super Sentai anymore. This is no more. Now it's just red. So that's why we have the red tint. Because we're Project Red now, I guess. But yeah, we have the Mandarake logo up here. Cool. We got the CRT. I guess this is a good start for the set. I don't know how long it's gonna continue. But whoa, what are we talking about? Oh, Gozyuger. Yeah, so this week, number one Sentai Gozyuger just ended, and I have thoughts about it. I have thoughts about the show. So I feel like everyone, at least I mean everyone, I just mean Twitter, X, X the everything app. I feel like most people's response is either like, oh, it was mid, or it was whatever. And the people who are like negative about it, they're being negative because of all the drama that happened around the show, but also because they're like they're like personally attached to Sentai. So the fact that this was the ending, or at least like the last episode for a while, I think it was not a good ending. It was not it wasn't a great ending. It wasn't like an ending where like it would end right there, and you could be like, well, that gave me everything ending. Like it wasn't like the final episode of Kamen Rider Stronger, which was the end of the original run of Kamen Rider. It wasn't like the ending to Mabius, Ultraman Mabius. That one, after seeing Ultraman Mabius, you can go, okay, I understand why they went broke and they had to put the series on hiatus. It wasn't what's another one where they ended it, where they ended the run. I guess those are really the only two big ones where like, they ended. It was like a good run, and because it lasted for long enough, because these series, they're not really supposed to like, they weren't meant to stay forever. They're meant to be replaced. But Sentai was like the one series that stayed like uninterrupted for like a long time. So you would think like they would at least try to divide, especially anniversary season, that you think they would try to give like a good send off to it. But it seems like with where they're going with like Sentai and Project Red, it seems like they're like, well, it's not really the end. It's not really the end. It's just we're gonna stop calling it Sentai for a while, maybe. Um, but I think that's why a lot of people are like attached to this, being like, well, this is really it. Are you serious? Like, this is the last Super Sentai episode that we're gonna get, allegedly, what you're telling us, or at least series, because not even the staff. I think the staff only found out that this was this was the last Sentai season. I think like 10 episodes in. At least that's what they were saying in this interview. But it is kind of funny that we got Akiko, or Inoue Akiko, to head write this season, and this is like this is our first head written season, but it's not her first involvement in Toei Tokusatsu, because she wrote she got on Kamen Rider Gotchard kind of like episode 15 or something like that. And she midway into the show, she got on as like a third writer to the show. And so she kind of does have like that, because obviously she's like the daughter of a Inoue Toshiki, who was like the GOAT, in my opinion. Because when I started watching Sentai during, or weekly, I started watching Sentai weekly during Dawn Brothers. I still haven't seen Jetman, but that's why it's funny that, cause everyone always says, oh, Jetman was like supposed to be the last one, or the last Sentai, but then that didn't happen. But then his daughter, the person who had wrote Jetman, his daughter ends up writing the actual last one. You would think that they would try to do things that they normally wouldn't do because it's the last season and they know it is it, but they didn't know it was the last season, because I think people would think they would do like a, I don't know, like a Power Rangers RPM, where they know it's gonna be over, so they try to, just throw everything at the wall, because they don't care if like the ratings are good or if they get good feedback, because it is the last one. But no, we didn't get that with Gozyuger. We just got, I guess, like a conflicting show, because a lot of people like saying that, the anniversary method is kind of drawn out at this point, especially with Sentai. People like saying that because with Kamen Rider, there hasn't really been. There's been like two big ones with the anniversary, and then everything or season. But people like saying that with Sentai, like Gozyuger was like, okay, you guys are kind of like overdoing it at this point. But because they're so desperate, they needed to, or they're so desperate with their the sales or whatever. They were like, oh well, we if we're gonna do anniversary season, we gotta do another Ranger Key again. The best part of the show was the anniversary stuff, because the best parts were when it was being like a light version of Kamen Rider Decade. And what I mean by that is that they take these actors who have nothing to do with like the whatever hero they're supposed to be. The Universe Warrior idea is like a retooled version of like Decade's thing, where he met all these writers who weren't the original writers, and they went under like but they assumed the identity of like the past writer, and they would go on like a storyline. It'll be like 2 episodes, and then at the end of that arc, it's kind of like a boiled down version of whatever the original story was based off of. It's not really like that with Gozyuger, but they do get like a new character who takes the power of like a past hero, but they don't know that. But they get to like reinterpret how their powers would work and everything. And in some cases, they do kind of like they kind of flip the premise on their head of like whatever hero they were taking, and it's a good way to like incorporate past heroes without making people feel like they're missing out on something. Because I think that's the problem with like a lot of anniversary series, is that you'd want to watch it and then you'd be like, I don't understand what that means, right? Because I haven't seen that show, I don't know what that means, blah blah blah. But I would say with this show and Kamen Rider Decade, you really don't need any like prior context to Super Sentai to enjoy this series. Honestly, even if you're like a Power Rangers fan, I would say this might help you ease you into Sentai, because with Power Rangers, you're too fixated on like, oh, like to me, like the Zeo Red Ranger is always gonna be Tommy, and the Samurai Red Ranger is always gonna be Jaden. But you watch Gozyuger and you go like, oh well, he's this guy in this one, so maybe eventually I'll get used to it being a totally different guy. But that's a big if, because Power Rangers fans are like, if you're not watching Sentai at this point, then like no one can help you. They're like, oh, I need to watch Power Rangers and everything. Like, if you haven't gotten the Sentai wagon at this point, even though it's over, even though the Sentai ride is over, if you're not gonna watch the older seasons and you're still waiting out on Power Rangers, like I don't even know what Power Rangers gives you at this point, but if you're still waiting out on Power Rangers and you haven't even like tried to watch Sentai, then it's like you're long gone, fortunately. But back to talking about this show. Yeah, that was the best part. The best parts were those 2-parters about the Universe Warriors. My favorite Universe Warrior of the show is probably Shoko, who was the Red Racer. Now, I haven't even watched Car Ranger, but I just liked her because the actress was in Ultraman Z, and I like Ultraman Z. And then part of my third one was the Lupin Ranger Pata Ranger one, because it was because the Pata Ranger guy was Madoka from Ultraman Trigger. And I'm not crazy about Trigger, but I still, I liked him in that role. And then my third favorite one was the first one that they, not the first one, but like the first major Universe Warrior, which was the Prime Minister Momotaro, who was played by played by the guy who played Ultraman Trigger. Yeah, so those are my favorite Universe Warriors. But so the first quarter of the show, they got me because it was like I felt like I was watching Don Brothers again. And again, that's where I started watching Sentai weekly. I've seen past shows, I've seen Go Ranger, Jacker, Battle Fever J. That's where I stopped with show up. But then I watched Decker Ranger, Hurricane Ranger, Abba Ranger, Maji Ranger. I was watching Bo Kenjer, but I'll probably get into it in another video why I'm not watching that right now. Which other ones? Go Buster, but that was like a long time ago. What else? Those are all the ones I finished. Other than Kira Major. Kira Major is probably the best Reiwa for me, in my opinion. Next to Dom Brothers, and then Dom Brothers number 2. Boom Boonger's number 3 for Reiwa. Then it's probably this show, and then it's King Oger's probably I haven't seen Zenkaiger, but King Oger is my least favorite Reiwa, and I won't get into that, but I don't really like it as a Sentai. I'll just keep it at that. But yeah, I would say that the what Gozyuger at least had for me is that it kind of had that, like, it was trying to be like Don Brothers a little bit, and even kind of like not to that. I think that's why they had Momotaro be like the first one that what's it called, that Goju Wolf defeated, because it's kind of like a passing the baton moment for Inoue Akiko from her dad to her on some like meta level, which I enjoyed. And the cast wasn't really there for me, I would say that. But I was kind of distracted in that first quarter because it was a lot of Universe Warrior stuff. So I could kind of just be like, like they're giving me like a new Universe Warrior every episode, blah blah. So I didn't really mind not enjoying the characters as much. But then once the second quarter, once like the overwhelming plot became more prevalent, I would say that's the thing I enjoyed the least. Like, I didn't like the the what's it called, the Universe Warrior, what was he, Zenkaiger Black, the guy who was the actor from Go Busters, Buster Blue. I didn't like that whole storyline with like I didn't like the Goshu Leon. I didn't really care for his character. Like they were trying to connect this one character to everyone else, who, like, for the few couple characters that were like underdeveloped, in my opinion. The only character, like the only main character, ranger, hero, whatever you want to call it, that I really cared for was Wolf. And it's funny, I just forgot his name. I'll probably remember his name later on, but he was the only storyline I really cared for, and his brother, because his brother low-key was like Griffith from Berserk a little bit, in my opinion. That was the only one I really cared about. And then I did care about Unicorn, but her character did get downgraded, massacred, or you want to call it, because of the scandal. So it does feel like her character was like, destroyed, or at least forgotten. They just kind of brushed it away once they realized, okay, we can't really do anything with that. But I would say, like, the team is whatever, like I was fine with them, but it's just like I didn't care a lot for them. But the really the I don't know, the most disappointing one for me is probably uh Goju Polar, because I'm kind of like a six Ranger Glazer. Like whenever they show up in the show, I'm kind of like, oh, okay, this is gonna be my guy. Like whenever there's an extra hero or anything like that, I'm like, okay, this guy's gonna be up my alley. I've always been like that as a kid. Now I've kind of changed a little bit. Um, I kind of do enjoy, like like I understand the purpose of like some of the characters who are on like the main team and aren't as flashy as like the Sixth or the Red Ranger. But like, yeah, when like Don Brothers, I know people they don't like Jiro, aka Don Jiraku. They don't like his thing because they felt like Inoue Toshiki didn't know how to write a Six Ranger. But this show, even worse, because Goju Polar, he's like not even a character. He's just like a plot device, or like a um his whole existence in the show is kind of just to be like, oh, there's like he was a previous one who fought in the whatever war they were in. He was the first winner, and now he's like an extra hero. He's almost like a, I don't know if I would say this. But he's not like a big one, because even in like the Gozyuger movie, he's like not in like, he's around in the cast, but he just doesn't act like he's not involved in the movie whatsoever. Like he doesn't even show up at the end and like do something real quick. So yeah, that's like a disappointing sixth in my opinion, because even for, I think for the anniversary, they usually try to make the sixth hero like a lot more flashy, kind of like emblematic of like what people enjoy out of a sixth hero. But yeah, this guy was just like, he was just like a plot device basically for like the second to last episode. But there was an episode where he did feel like they did try to develop him, but it's funny because it was only those two episodes, and they weren't even written by the head writer. They were written by Keiichi Hasegawa, who was the secondary writer of Gotchard. And now he's done stuff like he's just like a goated writer in general. But yeah, they gave him like two episodes, and I thought like, oh, he's gonna be like the third writer. He's gonna get more episodes involved. And no, the only thing he's gonna do the Goju Polar like special on TFFC or TTFS, no, TTFC. So yeah, but that gives you the understanding that like, okay, Hasegawa was supposed to be the guy that would develop Goju Polar, but then he just loses it out in episodes. And I don't know if it's because of the whole controversy, and like I don't know if there were like just crazy rewrites, because there were like 4-ish episodes where you can tell that they had to like restructure the story to deal with the firing of the previous actress and all that. Like you can see that they didn't know what to do, or at least that they had to just like quickly like push out the edited episode right away. And it's funny that the last episode that what's her name, Inamori, the last episode she appears in was an episode written by Arakawa. I forgot what his first name is, but Arakawa, the Deca Ranger, Abba Ranger, Kira Major head writer. He has like 4 episodes in this, and the first 2, it was Universe Warrior, whatever the Die Ranger Red Ranger is called. I forgot. I don't remember that off the top of my list. Dragon Ryu Ranger, and that 2-parter is the only episode where they combine with all, like they combine together like the same robot. And I thought that was interesting that was like her last episode. It feels kind of like emblematic, like these kids, yeah, because they try to pull that thing with what they do with Gozyuger is that they try to like focus on that like idea of like all the heroes being like individual heroes a lot, and that's why they never really combine except for that episode. And they're always kind of doing their own thing. And I think that goes to show you why Sentai um is kind of outdated to some people, and that's why they keep on trying to change it. But the second episode, or the second two-parter that Arakawa writes, is but it's before the last major storyline of the show, and it's the Origa Red arc. So this kid in real life, he put in a design and for like a imaginary red hero, and he won, allegedly, accordingly. But it is funny that design looks a lot like Don Momotaro, so I think that's why he won, because they're like, oh well, this is the easiest suit to kit bash. But those two episodes, low key, I was hyped at first because it was Arakawa and it was directed by Sakamoto, and so that's kind of like the best like of modern Sentai that you can get, in my opinion. I was excited at first, but then it kind of I think that those two episodes were like the most immersion breaking of the show, because they decided to bring back the original Ninja Red. And maybe if I would have saw Kaku Ranger, I would be excited, but I haven't, so I didn't. It's not that I didn't care much, but in my head I just thought that by bringing in an actual past red hero and you're having him play the same role that he's played before, that kind of breaks the immersion of the show. Because to me, I was under the assumption that all the other Sentai are gone and the only ones that exist are their powers and the just like the history of it. That was the assumption I was under. But then they just go like, yeah, no, he's a past red hero and he's coming back, and it's kind of like meta commentary too, because you have Origa Red, who I can understand Origa Red showing up, but he's kind of like in that episode, he's kind of like the emblematic, like, this is like, he's like the standard base Sentai red hero. It's like he's like the Sentai red hero that like all Sentai red heroes should like aspire to be at their base, which is not what the Gozyugers are like. But and then you have, so I think that's supposed to be like Arakawa, because Arakawa is like the base of Super Sentai writing wise. And then you got Sakamoto, again, who directed it, and he I think he pretty much just wanted to bring back Ninja Red because he directed the anniversary special, and he's very like martial arts focused in his choreography and everything. And so that first episode of the two-parter, both of them just beat the Gozyugers up and shit. So I thought it was kind of like meta on some level, like some sort of meta critique on like their team. But that's when I enjoyed it. But again, the problem that I'm still having is that by having them in that by bringing the actual Sentai hero, or just even just one Sentai hero, and having him use the Universe Warrior powers, it kind of breaks the immersion of like, okay, I thought this was just like, I thought the other Sentai was like either gone or just like being blocked from this universe, but it's like, no, they're just like, you can just bring them back whenever they want to. And that's what they're gonna do with the I understand it for the Boom Boonger versus movie, but in the show I'm like, okay, come on, they couldn't even commit to the bit. I think now those two episodes were just like, they were just immersion breaking for the rest of the show. And I heard not a lot of people really complaining about that. They're more complaining about just like everything else regarding the show. And again, to me, it's just like, I feel like everyone's acting a lot. They're acting really emotional because of all like the drama and just the fact, because it is going out bad down, like it's going out on a low note, Sentai. So because of the ending, being a certain way, because they probably had to refilm like the ending too. people are looking at it a certain way, and they're like, oh well, like, you know, it did, Sentai did get the short end of the stick, but um yeah, and I don't even know what else I gotta say. I just gotta say, oh yeah, I did care more for the villains, low key. But that's like all Sentai, you know. You know, once you get a little older, you just start finding you start finding the villains a little more interesting than the heroes on multiple levels. You know what I know, but yeah, I would say yeah, Gozyuger's like 7 out of 10. Like the fourth best Reiwa that I've seen. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know if I'm gonna see Gavin Infinity. Because I have this whole thing going on. I might get into another video. Um, where, yeah, I don't know if I want to watch it. And I feel like, yeah, I feel like with Project Red, I feel like they have no idea what they're doing, and which is interesting because we could get like a super low budget show that's just that is just like has zero budget whatsoever. Because even Project Red, this Gavin Infinity, they're like repurposing a bunch of other like Sentai things. I kind of like that vibe because it gives that feeling that they're trying to break out of Sentai, but they still need to stay, like they still need to give the look of being Sentai, even though they're trying hard. Like you can even see in their designs, they're trying to break out of the mold, but they need to still have like the red and the blue on their suits and everything. I think that's interesting, but the problem is that they're calling it Gavin, and it's not. It's not Gavin. It's something else. I think they would have been better off just. I think they, well, you know, they want to bring back Gavin to get everyone interested again, but then I feel like the next show is gonna be like super low budget. Like it might not even be a hero. We might just get like a magical girl or something. They're gonna put in something else to just like fill in the time slot, I feel like. And yeah, I think they I think totally cared more about Kamen Rider being the main revenue generating thing. And then they're like, yeah, Sentai is for unks now. How does that feel now? Did you see did you guys see the account, the Sentai account, right when Gozyuger ended? They they changed their profile picture to Aka Red, so now yeah, Sentai's the Unk. You thought the Ultra series were for Unks? Sentai's for Unks now. I think that's the best way to end it. Just letting you guys know, Sentai's the Unk series now.